Karen barges into my house at 3 a.m. with her toddler and smashes my TV. So I kick them both out on the street. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. Buckle up, everyone, cause this is a bumpy ride. Okay, so I was chilling in my living room around 3 a.m. playing some video games. My parents are out of town visiting some friends and I decided to stay home, house to myself and all. So here I am in nothing but my broad panties when there's a knock at the door. WTF, I think to myself. So I scrambled to get my clothes on and I answer the door. It was a family acquaintance with her already whiny little brat. She's also visibly pregnant and we'll get to why that part is important later. For the sake of the story, I'm gonna refer to her as Karen and the brat as the brat. Hey Karen, what's going on? My car broke down and tow company can't come get my car until tomorrow. Do you think me and the brat can crash here tonight? Sure, you guys can sleep in the living room. So I let them in. You want anything to eat or drink? Coffee if it's not any trouble. Sure, no problem. So I go to make some coffee when I see the brat picking up my controller. Hey little guy, please put that down. Oh, can't he play a game? No, I'm in the middle of something, plus he wouldn't know how to play the type of game. But he really wants to, don't you, brat? I want to play. No, you can't play. I want to play. I want to play. I want to play. And he then proceeds to throw the controller at the TV, shattering the screen. What the heck? I rush over to the TV. Hey, don't you swear at my child. You just let him destroy my TV like this. You the one who didn't let him play the video game. I said no, and you have to teach your brat that he isn't owed anything. How dare you? Just wait until I tell your mother about how you treated him. You'll make a terrible mom. I'm not having kids, but if I did, I wouldn't let them be spoiled little jerks like brat. You're being the brat right now. Just get a new TV and quit whining. Yeah, I'll get a new TV with the money you pay me for the broken TV. What? But you're the one who instigated little brat. You know what? Just get out of my house. And you and your brat are no longer welcome in my home. What's wrong with you? I'm pregnant and have a toddler and nowhere to go. You can't just kick out a stranded pregnant mother and her toddler at 3 a.m. in the cold. Oh, yes, I can, you insufferable witch. Now get the heck out of my house before I call the cops. Her picking her brat up and heading towards the door. Just wait until I tell your mother about this. Hey, I'll gladly tell her about what brat did to the TV and that you refused to pay for it. You'll regret this. She then leaves. The next morning, I called my parents and explained what happened. They were very understanding because I was never raised to be a spoiled little jerk. And Karen got an earful from my mom that if she didn't pay us back for the TV, we'd take her to small claims. She tried to play the oh woe is me single pregnant mother blah 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 crap, but it didn't work. And she forked over the $500 for the new TV and we cut off contact with that jerk. Okay, starting from the top, showing up at 3 a.m. is kinda crazy, especially without any kind of forewarning. But I get it, there was an emergency, you needed to come by, you needed a place to crash. No problem. Our original poster understood too and was willing to let them sleep on the couch. But you have to have control of your kid. You're in another person's house. They can't just do whatever they like. And when your kid throws a freaking tantrum and breaks something in the house that you're a guest in, you pay to replace it. Our poster did not instigate your kid by saying they couldn't play. It's not a game that's for them. Not everything is for them. They need to learn that, and it sounds like you really need to teach it. Entitled jerk insults my staff in front of me without knowing that I'm the head nurse. Some quick background. I'm a charge nurse in a medical unit. I'm a 32-year-old guy with a tidy ginger beard. I wear a striped gray and white tunic. The RNs wear a white tunic. Students wear a white tunic that has the name of the college they attend in big letters. All of us carry identification and lanyards that have our job titles on them. I'm walking around the unit checking to see if everyone is okay and nobody drowning in their patient caseload. Student nurse and resident nurse are looking after patient X, who had come in with delirium due to a UTI. She was convinced there were intruders in her attic and had fallen trying to climb up to confront them. She's kind of badass. I see the patient's son, aka Angry Man, accosting student nurse with some forms in his hand, repeating, "Just sign them, just sign them." RN tells me that he's been asking everyone to sign these forms to get his mother sectioned under the Mental Health Act. I decided to rescue student nurse who's on her first ever hospital rotation and is obviously uncomfortable. "Hi sir, you're interested in getting your mother sectioned? Well, that's a psychiatrist or gerontologist decision, so none of the nurses here are going to be able to sign that for you. If you want, I can point you in the direction of the medical secretaries who can arrange an appointment for you. Well, if they can't sign this, then what about these? Brandishing forms for long-term nursing home facilities. Okay, so your mother would have to consent to long-term care, unless she's deemed to not have capacity to make decisions for herself. Again, this is a decision for gerontologists or psychiatrists, so I can show you the way to the secretaries. Well, at least someone knows what they're talking about here. The nurses here are useless. It took this guy to tell me what I need to know. Are you like a medical person? Or yes, actually, I'm the nurse in charge of this unit. I don't appreciate your comments about my staff, especially since you were browbeating a student nurse when I first saw you. It's probably best if you stopped raising your voice and went to speak to the secretaries. He apologized profusely and began to walk away, but I just needed to know, just out of curiosity, who did you think I was when I started talking to you? I don't know, a plumber or something? Cue uproarious laughter from resident nurse and student nurse. It turned into a running joke that when there's a complaint or an issue, the nurses in the unit tell me, we need the plumber in room 2. I'm sorry, why did this guy think that the plumber would have the solution to his problems? Like, of all people in the building, the plumber knows where to go. It really goes to show what kind of people he puts value in. It honestly sounded like he was getting upset because he was trying to dump his mom on someone else's hands, and no one was going to cooperate with him. Honestly, just sounds like a jerk all around. Kids in my father's class won't stop destroying the class plants, so he lays a little trap for them. This happened to my father, not me, but I find it rather funny. My father was a teacher. He taught several subjects during his career and spent the last 15 years teaching science. He spent most of his career teaching the more difficult students. One year, the teachers were all upset because students kept killing their plants by ripping off the leaves. My dad wasn't really fond of plants. Even though he didn't like having a lot of plants around the house, he started thinking of ways to get the kids to stop killing the other teachers' plants. Finally, he came up with a way to teach the kids to not mess with plants. A few days later, he put 3 potted plants by the window in his classroom. He had a sign by the plants warning kids not to touch the plants because they were dangerous. He told every class that they were to leave the plants alone because something bad would happen if they didn't. Then he waited. He made sure to check the plants near the end of every class. 2 days after putting the plants out, he noticed that a lot of the leaves were missing from one plant. He had all the students line up against a wall and he checked all the desks for leaves. He didn't find any of them. The next day, 2 students come in before school with their parents. They want to know what kind of plants he had. They had horrible rashes all over their hands and groin area. Their parents were quite upset at my dad for harming their sons. My father told the parents that every class was warned to not ever touch the plants. He showed them where the sign was and let them see the very clear warning. Then he asked the boys how they got rashes in that area. The boys had to tell their parents that they ripped leaves off the plants of every teacher they had, and that they thought the sign was just to keep kids away from the plants. When the whole class was lined up so that everything could be searched to find out who destroyed the plants, they stuffed the leaves in their underwear. The parents were furious with their kids. They weren't pleased to have their kids get rashes from plants in the classroom, but that paled in comparison to their anger with their kids. The boys missed several days of school until the rash cleared up. My father then told each class that the plants were poison ivy. He taught the entire class not to mess with other people's plants. You never know what might happen. It stopped the plant destruction for that year. Of course, the administration made a rule that you cannot have dangerous plants in the classroom. No one thought to make a rule about this because most people don't plant poison ivy in pots and take them to school. FYI, for some reason, my father doesn't get rashes from poison ivy, poison oak, or poison sumac. Planting some in a pot was easy, as he kept some planted in an area of the backyard that he wanted my brother and I to stay away from. My dad just exclusively uses poison ivy to teach little jerks lessons. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. This is probably from a little while ago because I assume if this was something from a more modern day story that this would have fallen a lot harder on him. But I digress. I can't argue with the results. You'd think that the sign alone would be enough to warn the kids. It's kind of their own fault for completely disregarding it. Also, why are you picking all the leaves off the plants? What could they possibly do for you? Police officer thinks I'm trying to rob the pizza place that I work at. Some time ago, probably around 2010, I worked for a pizza franchise. There was a manager on vacation at a location I didn't work, so I was asked to fill in for them on my regular days off. The franchisee found out that I would be working at that store and asked me on the second day I was working there to do a full audit of the store because she was suspicious people were giving her incorrect numbers. So because this audit took a while, I was leaving the pizza place at 2 a.m. And another important detail is I didn't have a key to the front of the place, only to the back. So I parked behind the store, left, locked the back door, and started to drive off. When I got to the exit of the parking lot, there was a sheriff car going 3 to 5 miles per hour in the right turn lane that turned into the place I was working. He was going so slow, I had enough time to consider pulling in front of him several times, but I decided to just sit there thinking, maybe he's on his computer, and as soon as I pull out, he'll zip to full speed. This sheriff car turns right into the parking lot I'm pulling out of. I pull out and see the sheriff car turn around in the parking lot and get right behind me. He turned on his red and blue lights right as we were getting to a McDonald's. I was like, what? Why? I go into McDonald's and pull into the first available parking space, turn my dome light on, and roll down the window. The guy comes up to me shouting, "What are you doing in that parking lot?" I pointed to the pizza company logo on my shirt. The guy, a little nicer, "Oh, people have been robbing other businesses in that strip mall. Sorry to do that." I thanked the jerk for considering our safety and then went on my way. Okay, I get that there's been some stuff going on in the area, but you can't just approach the person like that. This guy was going 100% aggressive right out the gate apparently, and only pulled back when the guy had clear evidence that he worked at the place. You gotta at least give people a chance. You can't just assume the worst. Maybe they just pulled in there because they had to stop for a second. They had an emergency, they had to take a call, and had to park in the parking lot. Not really a good reason to just run up on them screaming, now is it? I told my friend I'm not hanging out with her anymore until she has her own money. I want to start off this post by saying I'm a single mom who works hard for my money. I love going out to eat and buying things, but I also save up for these things. I recently made a friend who I'll call Minnie. A few times I've treated her because I asked her to come with me to restaurants. Anyway, one day Minnie invited me somewhere. So since I paid for her in the past, I thought she would cover me. I ordered something cheap that was about $10 and I had a water, and she got herself about $40 worth of food. When the check comes, she hands it to me and tells me that she only has $11. I was quite confused. If you only have $11, why order almost 4 times the amount in food? I covered the tab. Then it happened again on my birthday. She ordered food but also didn't have money, so I paid. She invited me over for dinner, and when I got there, she told me I needed to help pay for the chicken she wanted to make and then told me to go to the store. I went back home and got 2 leftover chicken thighs I had and gave them to her, and she was upset, but said it'll do. Then one day, while I was solo at a restaurant, she and her husband showed up and sat with me. I had a feeling she might do this again, but I only had a gift card to that place and my phone. This particular place didn't take Apple Pay. The check comes and she tells the waitress to cut it down the middle. I immediately said no, because I only ordered $18 worth of food and planned to use the rest of my $25 gift card for a tip. She was shocked and asked me how she was going to pay for her almost $90 order. She huffed and told her husband to use the credit card. Apparently, she told him I would help cover the bill, so he got mad at me for taking it back. I never said I would pay for them. Then this morning, she asked me if we were going out to lunch. I told her no, because I know she would find a way to make me pay again. And then I told her I won't go anywhere else with her until she actually has her own money. She's since been ignoring me, and I'm perfectly okay with this friendship ending, and told her that this friendship isn't worth it and to stop talking to me altogether. Later in the day, her husband messaged me and told me that I was a jerk for hurting your feelings and that friends treat friends. He mentioned how she would cook for me, and I said, yeah, with food that I bought and shared with the 2 of you. He didn't say anything else other than telling me I was rude and only valued money. So tell me, was I the jerk for saying this to her, or could I have been nicer about it? I think you're right, and that you're a lot better off now that she's no longer involved in your life. I'm sure she was a nice person and fun to hang out with, but she clearly just wanted you to pay for all her meals. I'm sorry, but no matter how cool you are, that's a deal breaker. It's a two-way street, my friend. You can't expect me to always be paying for everything for you and then not reciprocate once in a while. It's one thing if you're offering, but the way she's just expecting you to pay for everything is just gross. I made my 70-year-old father cry on his birthday by telling him the truth. My dad used to be abusive. It got so bad that my mom and him lost custody of us. After that, my grandparents adopted all 5 of us, and my mom left my dad after getting an ultimatum from my grandparents. And life kind of just went on. Fast forward to today, 13 years later, I'm 25, and I'm disappointed to say that after my grandparents died, my mom went back to my dad. All of my siblings also reconnected with him, and say he changed completely, although most poster not close to him. From what I heard, after losing his family, he finally got mental help and was diagnosed with severe PTSD. He is an army vet and bipolar disorder. He spent the better part of a decade getting professional help, and it looks like it worked. Now my brother and mom are guilt-tripping me into talking to him. They constantly tell me how he was mentally unwell and to give him a second chance since he misses me and wants to make things right. But I don't really want to. I'm glad everyone's happy, but I just don't want to put myself through all that. I've lived 13 years without him and don't want to have any contact with him ever again. I live on my own, so they can't really do anything about it. They're basically saying that he wants to be absolved of his past, and by not wanting to talk to him and living in the past, I'm making an old man's life miserable since his sins are following him. They keep saying he just wants to hear my voice. I still ain't budging, cause I feel like he gave away that right a long time ago. Recently it was my dad's 70th birthday, and they invited me. I said no, but apparently they made up some convoluted story that I was on a vacation abroad and sent a photo of me and my boyfriend with a text saying, "Happy 70th birthday, Dad. Love original poster," to my dad. Apparently he loved it and started brainstorming ideas where to meet with me to talk after I get back from my trip. My sister was present and texted me what had happened. I got so mad that I called my brother, told him to put me on speaker, and told everyone at the birthday that I didn't send that message and don't want anything to do with my father, then hung up. I got missed calls from my brother and later texts calling me heartless and asking me if I'm proud of myself for making a 70-year-old man cry on his birthday. He also called me vindictive and childish for living in the past. I said what my wishes were and that they didn't respect them. They made him cry, not me. Now all my extended relatives think I'm a huge jerk, even though the rest of my siblings support me. So I don't know what to make out of all this. I just want my wishes to be respected, and I don't really think that jerk getting therapy can really wipe away abusing his family for over 2 decades. I agree. This one's on your family, not you. They set him up for this. They can't just drop that and expect you to go along with it, especially when you've been strongly against it from the beginning. And I don't blame you for being against it. That's great that he might be doing better now, and that everyone else is getting along with him. But as you said, you've moved on with your life. You don't want to get into that, and you're not obligated to. Them trying to force it on you isn't fair to anyone involved. And now look at the results. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, linked at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot, linked in the description as well. Either way, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.